This is the Lifestyle Business Owner Show, where we talk about the street smarts of small business. Your hosts are Aaron and Mayumi Muller, owners of 8 companies that run without them, and founders of the LBO Academy. It's your turn to discover how you can own a business that runs without you. Now, here's Aaron and Mayumi.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to Aaron Muller with the Lifestyle Business Owner Show, where we talk about the street smarts of small business. If you can't listen to the entire show today, you can always go to our website at lboradio.com. That's lboradio.com and get this episode and any other previous episode we've put up. Our guest today, we got, his name is Michael Elliott. He's one of the founders of RocketDog Communications, a branding company. Michael has a deep background in digital, having worked for 2 of the Northwest's largest internet companies prior to co-founding RocketDog. He has spent 20 years leading creative teams and delivering award-winning work for numerous Fortune 500 startups and everything in between. We also have my co-host, Mayumi Muller. She's not only my wife, but also my partner in all of my companies. And she creates so much more success for me ever since I've met her, and I love her dearly. Mayumi, say hi to everyone.
Oh, how nice. It's always good when you get into a little argument before, and then you get like all these amazing accolades that you can rewind over and over.
We never argue, honey. That's
yeah, we
perfect.
never argue. Okay,
Michael, what's up?
I'm excited.
I'm super
Michael,
excited to be here
thank you for
today.
being on the show.
You can also think of me as marriage counseling.
Yeah,
Yes.
good.
Honestly,
You've been in the
That's
middle
what-
of it.
Yes.
that's what I'm here for.
Yep, we're here to go back and forth. But, okay, so on a side note, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. But Michael, the branding extends to his personal life because he takes some really great pictures of food that he eats. He's a very
I haven't
healthy
seen that.
eater.
That's good.
And his dog is adorbs. And so
Who doesn't love Chuck? I mean,
he's
really.
the cutest thing. So I get an opportunity not only to talk about work and deal with your work stuff, but also on a personal note, he does great job branding food and restaurants, and you're just a social guy too.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone loves you.
I see Michael everywhere.
Yeah.
Welcome to personal branding.
Yep. Exactly.
You've done well. You've done well.
You've done well, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and let's go. Let's get going.
Yeah, well, first off, let's just kind of give us your background. I've seen your
Yeah.
website. You do have a lot of big name companies that you're, representing on your website. Like, can I use the names at all? Or
Yeah,
not?
I mean-
like Alaska Airlines stuff and, big,
Yeah.
Microsoft
Yeah,
and everything.
Microsoft
So,
is a big player in town.
yeah, so
that company
some
right
people
up
have
the
heard of
street here.
Well, it's a startup.
how the heck did you get into all that?
I think it's the same thing for other companies. It's all about the hustle. You got to find the right network. You got to find the right people. But at the end of the day, if your work doesn't back it up, then you're kind of out of luck.
True.
So for us, it's really about great creative, great solutions, and then really doing a good job at communicating with the client. I mean, you're there to solve a business problem, not just make something look pretty. And I think that's really
Right.
the difference between a designer versus someone that's actually in there to get some work done.
Yeah, well, also, like really the branding, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can design something nice and they don't know really even how to, deal with that and like what to do with it. And as a branding agency, you not only design something, but you guys are actually like kind of giving them a game plan sometimes.
Yeah,
too, in the
sometimes,
process?
it's kind of from start to finish, depending on what the client needs. But for us, a brand is not just, hey, I have a website or, hey, I have a business card. It's the
Right.
suite of tools. And then it's also how you deliver and how you
Yeah.
interact with your clients, right? What are the expectations that you're setting for the clients to interact with your brand?
Yeah.
Right.
What message do you want them to hear, right?
So
I mean,
that's critical. I mean, it's like with you guys, you have a brand, you
Yep.
have an expectation for, how things want to be done.
Right.
The Targets and the Walmarts of the world and the Microsofts of
Exactly.
the world, they all, they're trying to get you to feel what their brand is all about. Take Apple. Apple transitioned from a software company, hey, we make computers, to they're a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
that
right?
is so true.
That's so true.
You got to look at, and that's what I do personally when I'm looking at branding myself or branding a product or branding something, right? I always look at the big boys and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, why sit there and try to reinvent something too? Like you got to,
They got the budgets.
they got the budgets, and then you talk to somebody like yourself who can kind of
Put your
put it all
budget
together and make it
within
all
the
into
budget.
place. So how did you get
Right.
into your industry?
Yeah.
How long you been doing it for?
For us, close to 20 years at this point. I think July this year is our 19th anniversary or something like that. It's
Wow.
kind
Wow.
of crazy.
For RocketDog?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So, I mean, we started like a lot of other companies. My co-founder and I, both designers. She was in the print side of the world, and I was on the digital side of the world. And, your clients are in both places.
Right.
Your website, social media in today's world
Yep.
needs to correspond to what's going on in the print world, right? Your
I
book,
agree.
right? How
Yeah.
does your book relate to your website, email marketing, all
Yep.
that kind of good stuff. So we just, you look at those problems, and I think being an entrepreneur, you kind of have an inner drive to be awesome sometimes and then totally get the crap kicked out of you on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
And then figure out like, oh, that's right. Nobody else is here to pick up the pieces for me. I got to
Right.
do it myself.
That's so
yeah,
true.
that is so true.
Well, it's funny too. I always, I'll see a lot of designers and branding companies, and I mean, it's like a lot of them to me aren't really that great. Your stuff I've seen is really great.
Thanks.
So, how does it, first off, how are they in that industry if they're not even that good?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
And
Yeah.
is it subjective, or is this something that, like how much goes into like science or data that you've accumulated to come up with great branding versus just you have an eye for it or, whatever?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, you can't rely on just stats at the end of the day, and you can't rely on just creative. So, it goes back to the client. Like, how big of a brand are we really going to do here? Or do I just need a website? And those are a little bit of two things. But for us, it's always talking to the client about long-term big picture, even if we have to start with a smaller project.
And just listening to them, it seems like you guys are really good at doing that.
I think if you
Yeah.
don't listen well, you don't execute well at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so I'm going to read this question because it's a little bit of a long one. So when you develop and extended some of the most successful brands that you have for like your Microsoft and your or larger clients, give us like a story of like how it all transpired. I know that you build the relationship, you talk to them, but what are some of the stories that you have about the process?
Do you want the process or you want the success of the client project itself?
Yes, the success of the client project.
Probably one of the funnest one is the Girl Scouts of the USA.
Oh.
So we just had the big Girl Scout cookie season.
Yes,
right?
we did.
Everybody loves that, right before summer.
Well, it's a love-hate relationship, but
So we did a number of projects for those guys out of New York. They actually ended up being two of the most profitable projects for the Girl Scouts, most well-known projects that they've ever run out. So
wow.
I think that's awesome. For us, it's doing something fun, unique, and different. For them, it was one called On the Road, which was taking girls ages 14 to 17 and really talking to them about the auto industry, becoming, hey, there's jobs in that industry, right? It's not just about being a mechanic to everything. Hey, how much does a car really cost? Right, taking a driver's test, all that kind of good stuff. And then the second project was one called Uniquely Me, and that was a partnership with Dove. And everybody
that's
remembers the
great.
evolution of a model campaign,
Yep.
right, and all the Photoshop work that goes into
Yes.
those ads. So this component was basically creating an online game and support materials about girls are unique in the way that they love how their friends look more than they love how they look. So she's got straight hair, I have curly hair.
Oh,
She's
gosh, that's
tall,
so
I'm
true.
not, right? Guys aren't the
Yes.
same that way.
Yes.
So we built games to share, the girls be able to share that information and stories about how they see their friends. So they went online, they created an animated movie, they'd send it to them, and then they could interact back and forth.
Wow.
So it was really about esteem at the end of the day and being comfortable with who you are in the mirror.
That's great.
So it sounds like there's a lot of almost social branding now.
Yeah.
Like
Today's
where
world,
it's
there
not
is.
about
It is.
like buy my product. It's about kind of how this product can be integrated into
like a lifestyle, right?
making people
It can be.
kind of touching on issues that people have.
That's a
in
huge
society and
issue.
stuff. So
Who would think that I could be if I went to college, quote unquote, I became a social media influencer? I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
really?
Mm-hmm.
So
And interviewing girls to create an app or a
Yeah.
game about what they feel about themselves.
it's crazy.
And it's funny because it's so true. I love the Dove campaign and what they've done, with just being all natural. And but it's really interesting because, when I was younger, I would see girls and I'm like, oh gosh, she's so pretty and I wish I looked like her. And then my other girlfriend would be like, you do look like her. you know? And I'm
Right.
like, really? But my hair's not straight. And she's like, straighten your hair. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, but you know, how girls see themselves is completely different than how others perceive us.
Yeah.
And it's a different mind than with boys.
So for us,
good for you.
the goal with that one was come up with a creative solution, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what we do. I mean, our
Yeah.
tagline is Brave New Design. And all that really means is let's hear what you got going on and maybe
Yeah.
bring a different solution
Well,
to the table.
let's look outside that box. Right? Like,
Yes.
the brave new design is not like
Yeah.
necessarily this new design. It's
it's
looking
thinking outside.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, it's refreshing.
It is refreshing.
You know, because you definitely have a different spin on things. So when is it important for somebody to actually rebrand, right?
Yeah.
So I have multiple companies, and
Right now.
you know, and should what's that?
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah. And so when do you really feel like, as a business person, you should do it? Because it costs a
Right.
lot of money to really rebrand.
It can. I think that the key for that is try to understand what your end goal is, right? And is your company there now? And if it's not, what do you need to do that? So websites, for instance, you know, you want to turn those guys out every couple years, updating cards, logos. For instance, we did a new brand for a wealth management firm here in town. They had a logo that they had had for, 10 or 15 years. They do a great job. They're one of the top 5. But getting someone to let go of that and bring in
Yeah.
a new brand, it was just time, right? They
Yes.
wanted a different kind of, not really a different kind of clientele, but they just wanted to move up the ladder a little bit to reflect the level of services that they were delivering. And that's kind of what happens, right? Your brand says, hey, we do these 3 things. And in reality, you do 7.
Right.
And so no one really understands that because you're not telling them that. You're not refreshing it. You're not giving
Right.
it some new energy.
Yeah.
So with them, for instance, we rolled out a new brand for them, and it's everything. So websites, collateral, all that stuff.
But
And
it doesn't have to be everything, right?
it doesn't. I mean, it
We
can
were just
certainly be a
talking about
process.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
So-
Well, today we're talking with Michael Elliott, one of the founders of RocketDog Communications. It's a branding company here in the Pacific Northwest. He has spent the last 20 years leading creative teams and developing award-winning work for numerous Fortune 500 companies and startups. That's awesome. And, you know, he is the guy that you want to see or visit or even pick his brain if you are looking into branding. You can follow the Lifestyle Business Owner Show on the Facebook or Instagram, and you can also listen to Lifestyle Business Owner Show anytime, anywhere on lboradio.com. That's lboradio.com.
The Lifestyle Business Owner Show continues after this on AM 1580. The Answer. Log on to lboradio.com while you listen to the Lifestyle Business Owner Show. Now, back to Aaron and Mayumi Muller.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we're talking with Michael Elliott, one of the founders of RocketDog Communications, a branding company here in the Pacific Northwest. He has spent the last 20 years leading creative teams and delivering award-winning work for numerous Fortune 500 companies and startups. And man, so how can folks get a hold of you here if they're looking to get in touch with you?
I think the best way to do is just hit the website. Just go rocketdog.org, hit the contact form, send me a little note, let me know you guys listen to the show. Happy to do a connect.
Yeah.
Right on. You guys definitely need to reach out to Michael. I think he's got some
Yes.
great stuff. I'm actually going to consult with him myself and some of our stuff that we're doing because I'm impressed. I'm
Yes.
impressed. This meeting is great.
This doesn't happen very often, but this
No,
is good.
I don't get impressed that often.
No, you don't.
So, you know, as far as, you know, as a small business person, a couple things, I guess. You know, let me just clarify something. You know, we're talking about, you know, big company. You do all these big companies or startups, Fortune 500 companies. Do you work with small businesses?
Yeah, we do. I think for us, it's about the client, not the
Yeah.
budget.
Okay.
I like
So
that.
as a small business owner, we're very frugal because we have to be. Our budgets are not millions of dollars. They're hundreds or thousands of dollars, right? I mean, as a small business, it's not the same. I've met many people out there that, you know, talk a big game about their marketing and they're able to build this $100 million company, but then I'll sell them a small $1 million business and they have they used to have like a $10 million marketing budget.
Yeah.
And now they have a $10,000 a year budget and they sometimes fail.
Yeah.
Because they're just not used to knowing how to spend your bucks wisely. So my
Right.
question is, as a small business owner, I'm going to go to you and say, okay, you're gonna brand me, like that sounds like it's going to be really expensive. Why can't I just go on like Weebly and do my own like website and come up with my own marketing things?
The answer is you can, right? I think at the end of the day,
why should I hire you, Michael?
Hold on, we'll get there. I think the idea is knowing the right client, right? Who's the right client for you in your business? I'll know my right client as well.
Right.
But more importantly, the beauty of the internet allows you to do things without spending millions of dollars and being effective, right? Social advertising. But, creating a brand is also how you answer the phone, right?
Absolutely.
What are you doing internally? How are your people answering the phone? What's the
Or if you answer the phone.
Yeah. What's the experience? So for us, what we're trying to do for small businesses is give them the pieces and the tools to execute on that. They may not have the money to do the full-on advertising campaigns and things like that. So we'll create kind of smaller engagements. But we also look at them kind of as a 12-month client, not as a 1-month client. So we'll design a marketing plan for you and number of pieces, and then really kind of turn into a retainer style model. So it's kind of like a car payment every month. So easy money, let's say you had $120,000 to spend over the year, that's $10,000 a month. Or if you had $12,000 to spend, it's $1,000 a month. I think the fear that most small business owners have is, I don't have enough money, or I'll do it myself. I mean, for instance, social media engagement. Oh, that's totally free. I'll totally do it myself. I hate to break it to you. Everybody gets busy, and their Facebook pages and their Twitter accounts have every post on Christmas, right? And that's really it. So the marketing is also about consistency.
Yeah.
Right? Making sure your message is out there consistently so that when customers are ready to make that decision, then you'll be in front of them. Versus, I did that one ad in that magazine that one time and I didn't get any customers, which is what we hear a lot. I spent $5,000 on a magazine.
Well, they were thinking they're getting this huge return.
Yeah.
No, that's very common. That's common.
It is
that's
common.
a misconception of any kind of advertising or marketing. They think they can do something and spend a bunch of money and TV ad, right? You can buy a cable, for the zip codes, and you do it.
Or the grocery cart. The grocery cart advertising.
That might be better, because actually, it's cheaper and it sits out there. But you're talking like an ad on, like, let's say the radio, let's say, and you're going to run it for 3 months, and you think that you're going to get, or you're going to run it for a month, would even be worse, right? So you run that for a month, and then it's like, I didn't get very much business out of it, but I spent $10,000, and you're like.
We had a client down in California. We were doing magazine advertisements as part of that puzzle. We did for, let's say, 3 years. He still gets customers calling him saying, I saw you in that magazine. He hasn't advertised in that magazine for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? It just became, he was the first guy that does that service at the beginning of the magazine. And we negotiated that placement. Then that's the other thing, right? You as a business owner could easily call a magazine and say, hey, I want an ad. And they'll say, great. But you don't really have an advocate for you and your brand to negotiate what the placement is in that magazine. And or, hey, by the way, if I get him to do a 10, can we get an extra 2 ads free? Right. So it's all about negotiation at the end of the day. How can we bring benefit to our clients?
So Aaron was talking about, small business owner budget versus large, corporation. So in this situation where you said that you would do more of like a yearly commitment, for both commitment on the business owner as well as you guys and your team, are there items that you would give the small business owners to do on their own in lieu of what you're doing, or how does that work? I mean, would you be able to help them also?
We can
do stuff on their own.
Yeah, in today's world, content generation is critical. So the idea that we would make a blog as part of their website, and we would give them some guidelines about what to write. So from an SEO point of view, it's helpful. And then we would give them guidance on like where to share, where to post, how to get the best visibility for that, and then really kind of turn it over to them and let them kind of run with it.
Okay.
Sometimes they're super successful. I mean, some clients love it. They're just in.
Yeah.
Right.
Others are like, so I wrote one blog in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard, It's
it
really,
is hard. Like you said, people get busy. They've got other things going on besides their businesses.
And like you said earlier, the consistency is really the key to all of this,
really
right?
is.
I mean, so I really kind of want to understand or make sure our listeners really understand, what do you guys all do?
So for us, we're called an integrated marketing agency. And all that really means is we do both the print side of the world, so everything from the logo creation to brochures, direct mail, things like that,
Yep.
to the digital side, websites, social media, SEO. So for us, it's really about finding what tools we need to put on the table for that client. Not every client uses all the tools, right? Some clients will just be like, hey, I need this website, and that's really it. But it's going to be a CMS tool, which is a content management system, because they want to update their content themselves, versus having to call an agency all the time.
They can do that if they want. I mean, there's business owners that don't want to do it either.
Yeah. And so we offer both options.
Great.
And then, just, hey, what do you need? When do you need it? And then being ready to answer the phone. I think that,
That's
agencies, we get a hard knock sometimes for, hey, nobody answered the phone, right? Or, hey, you didn't answer my email within 4 days. We have a kind of a rule in-house that, hey, look, you get an email, you got to answer within 24 hours. Even if it's a problem with a client, what we try to do is say, hey, we heard you, and we'll get it resolved as fast as possible.
Right.
Sometimes that's easy. Sometimes it's not our fault. Like the internet went down, right?
Right.
A hurricane hits Houston, and a whole
You dog ate your internet cables.
Yeah. Right. And all of a sudden you're like, what happens? So you kind of have to scramble sometimes. But welcome to the service business. At the end of the day.
Well,
absolutely.
we have a policy. It's 24 days. If you get an email, if we don't get back to you in 24 days, we're going to give you your money back.
Well, I have to give myself a little kudos just because I love words of affirmation. But I called a lady back today. One of our companies, we don't do residential, and she had did something and got some overspray on on some concrete, and she called us, and I could have just let it go and been like, if I don't call her back, that's what everyone else does, and then we don't do residential anyway. So I called her back and told her, I said, hey, I'm just calling you back, let you know we don't do residential. However, you mentioned your situation. I would recommend maybe going to this place and finding out if they have, anything that you can use that's eco-friendly that can remove that product off of your concrete. And she's like, I can't believe you called. Like, not only did you call me back, no one's called me back. You had an answer, a solution
and
to
you have
my
nothing
problem.
to sell me.
And I'm not selling her anything. And so, those little things, because guess what? Do you think that lady, if she might know the person that owns this Uwajimaya building here that we're looking at in International District, and she could call them and say, hey, guess what? This company does pressure washing. You need to give them a call. You never know. That's why with you and your social media and just having your work with your personal, and we feel like, wow, we know we Michael is great. We want to see what Michael's going to be doing throughout the day. That's the connection. I think that's what people want in today's world.
So I kind of want to go back a little bit about what we were talking about as far as what you do. You talked about social media. So do you do social media campaigns for people too? Or is it just you design content sometimes for those?
It's a little bit of both. It really depends on the client. So
you pretty much can do all of it.
Yeah. So for instance, for some clients, we'll do a monthly engagement, which really means creation of content, curating of content, and then engagement with people that engage with that content. So we become the client's online voice.
Right.
Sometimes what we do is just generate content, hand it off, and then let them manage it. A lot of times we'll be the front person on the front line, and then if somebody has a question that comes through Facebook or Twitter, then we kind of push that off to the right person to get the answer, and then, let them answer it back.
No, I think that's great. We like that. I mean, really, it's a one-stop shop. Michael's a one-stop shop.
We call it the one phone call.
That's cool.
I like the one.
How many people
phone
do you have
call.
in your office?
Yeah, we work remotely, so I got 7 people kind of on staff, so to speak, and then we're a typical creative agency, which basically means we kind of ebb and flow depending on what the work is, right? What kind of dev lead do I need on this, or a writer? So writers, for instance,
and you have to match people up too, right? You can't just hire, like a designer. Let's say you talk to us and we want some idea, and if you don't have the right designer on staff, you're going to find the right designer that's going to match us up.
Yep. No, it's like matchmaking.
That's right.
Right? So how much, if people, depending on their budget, how much should people budget for marketing and branding?
So
is there a formula for that?
Based off of a sales revenues or whatever?
So every industry is a little bit different. So it ranges anywhere between 3% to 10 to 12%.
Okay.
So it really, for instance, the Seattle
market.
3 to 12%.
3 to 12.
That's a big range.
So for instance, Seattle Magazine, a full page ad in that is $5,000. So if you do a 12-time buy, $60,000.
Yeah.
So if you're doing less than $600,000, well, that's certainly more than 10% of your revenue just for the buy, and that doesn't include my services.
Wow, you know what? Gosh, Michael, thank you so much for being on the show today. If you want to take branding to the new level, visit RocketDog.org. That's RocketDog.org. Here at the Lifestyle Business Owner Academy, we're not rendering legal or financial advice. We're not telling you what you should or shouldn't do with your business or anything. We're just telling you what we do personally on a day-to-day basis. When we come back, we're going to start our LBO segment. This is where you have an opportunity to get to know Aaron and I, and we'll discuss how to buy a business, grow profits, and make it run without you. Make sure you follow us on the Lifestyle Business Owner anytime, anywhere on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also listen to Lifestyle Business Owner Show on lboradio.com. That's lboradio.com. Michael, thank you so much for being on our show this afternoon. RocketDog.org. Go check it out.
More of the Lifestyle Business Owner Show coming up on AM 1590. The Answer.